Success is simple, not easy. Have you ever noticed 90% of the time, always the same people are winning and succeeding? They know what they want and they won't let anyone tell them different. Of course there are exceptions, but most of the time it is like that. In the past I had a friend, and that friend was my best friend for a long time. He was the popular kid basically. Good grades, a lot of friends, girls found him attractive. He basically had everything in that period of time he wanted. We were like 12, 13. And back then, I didn't know what it was, but there was something about him. You just wanted to be liked by him. You wanted to be around with him. He was, even at that age, someone you look up to. And he was my friend. And he was a little cocky, arrogant, right? I remember one time we were in class and he always had a big mouth, you know. He always had a big mouth in class, you know. It was kind of funny sometimes. He said something to the teacher or a classmate, I don't really remember what it was. Are you going to say that to your boss in the future? And his response was, I will be my own boss, even at that age. You may think it's cringe, but it's something I remember because that sums up his personality. He said, I will be my own boss and I won't work for anybody. Of course, the whole class was like, shut up, you don't know what you're saying. And even I was a little bit cringing because at that age, you know, what does he know? So okay, that happened, and now like 15 years later, maybe 10, 15 years, he's chilling in Dubai or anywhere once really, making a lot of money from his laptop. So he basically made it and he achieved something that is my biggest dream basically. And then I sit back and I'm thinking like, it's kind of funny because, oh, after all, it all worked out for him, and not even a little bit, he's really successful with a lot of aspects in his life. Because we come from the same background, he lived not too far from me, you know. That just made me realize, why can't I do this, you know? Of course, I was motivated long before that, but it really was spot on with how I wanted to live, you know. And I'm 100% sure it's because of his arrogant, you can call it, mentality, extreme confidence, maybe even delusion, that he is where he is now. Because he could have said, oh, I guess they're right, I will work for a boss, which is fine, you know, if you want it. But if you don't want it and you know you can achieve much more, that's the way to go. And he did it, you know. I don't really hear him that often anymore, but sometimes I still see him. And he shows motivation for me. And I never really told him. So maybe I will in the future, now I'm thinking of it. Because I realized now, I always saw him as a role model in my life. So yeah, that wraps up that story. My point with this story is, you see it everywhere, you know. It's always those people, you know. They back up their arrogance. So you can't really blame them, in my opinion. Of course, treating people bad and acting like you're above everyone else is not really the way to go. Although I believe you should think that, but you know what I mean. And that's exactly the reason why I don't really believe in luck. Because it's always, you see a pattern, you know. You see a pattern in success. And that's basically why I call this video Success is Simple, Not Easy. I really believe everyone can achieve this. It's basically, it all comes down to law of attraction. And I'm really big into this, and I will make a lot of videos about this and tell you my stories. Because success, in my opinion, is a lot of times overcomplicated. If I were to ask you, how do you get big in the gym? You know how to get big in the gym. Calculate your protein intake, go to the gym at least 3-4 times a week. Fix your sleep schedule. Don't drink like you used to. People like to overcomplicate everything, which makes it seem more difficult and less simple than it sometimes really is. What is the difference exactly between simple and easy? For example, you're training to become a marathon runner and you have to stick to a specific schedule, you know. The schedule can seem simple. Wake up so late, eat this, eat that, train, drink this, drink that, you know, go to bed when you have to. And it really doesn't seem like rocket science if you see it on a paper like that, you know. The easy part, or not easy, is in fact doing it, you know. Waking up at, for example, 4 or 5 a.m. It's not that easy, you know, as we all know. For most of people, it isn't that easy always. because you don't want to wake up so early, you know, you want to sleep more. And there's a lot of emotion that comes with it, you know. But you know what you have to do. That is simple, but in fact doing it, it's the easy, not the easy part. And discipline is a big part in this, and why you're doing something. Because if you know why, it can keep motivating you. If you are motivating is maybe not the perfect word for it, but you know why you're doing it. You know, if you don't have a plan, waking up at 4 a.m. is laughable almost, you know. It all goes hand in hand. And you may not realize this, or you do, but a lot of the people have the same goals. And like your goal is maybe becoming a millionaire. Everybody's goal is becoming a millionaire, you know? So you're in competition with everybody, and especially with yourself. And you have to want it bad enough to in fact purchase it. And like the friend I mentioned, in fact doing it and not giving up and staying arrogant in some way, and having such a extreme belief in yourself that, you know, I'm going to pull this off, you know, because a lot of people don't have that. So be the one who has that as an advantage, you know, because we often forget everybody has goals, but the purchase of those goals is for everybody different. So become the 1% in this and really do your best and give it your all, because that's what separates the people, I think. Because a person who wakes up at 4 a.m. and works out, meditates and eats well and goes to sleep when he has to is always every day going to beat the person who has the same vision, the same goals, and doesn't do all that. Or maybe one day I will wake up with it, you know. It doesn't work like that. Success asks trust before results, you know. And a lot of people think it's the other way around, but try to view it as that. A lot of people want to view something and see results first, and then they stay motivated, you know. But if you view it as the other way around, if you flip it, it becomes a whole new perspective, you know. The gym is a perfect example, because you're not going to see results before you go to the gym. That's just ridiculous, you know. You have to put in the work first, and then results will come naturally, you know. And also a thing I want to address is success, and the process of success is boring a lot of the times, you know. You're watching a movie and the main character is really, for example, basketball is really, he's giving it his all. He goes running really early. He plays basketball until 2-3 a.m. the whole day. It all seems really glamorous, you know. It seems fun in some way. And don't get me wrong, it is fun a lot of times. Seeing the results and putting in the work, it's really fun. But in real life, there is no soundtrack. Change your identity and not just things you're doing. This is something I'm going to make a video of in the future, for sure, because it's really interesting. Understanding the concept of simple and easy takes away the excuses a lot of times. Because you understand it's not that hard or complicated to do it. I'm not doing it because I don't want to, or, you know. So that's why people choose to not look at that. Because a lot of people, most of the people, don't want to look at themselves negative, you know. But if you're watching this video, you are willing to look at yourself. How can I be better? How can I achieve everything I want, you know? We are special in some way. The last man standing succeeds. So that's all I have to say today. If you like this video or can relate, you can like, subscribe, comment, and see you in the next one.